Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I'm excited about my next guest. Casilda and I actually got connected through, yeah, I know you guys already know, Clubhouse. So we were able to be on a stage together as moderators. So it's really exciting to come together and collaborate on this podcast because we've met on Zoom calls before. And like I said, we've been in several rooms and on stages together on Clubhouse. And I'm excited to hear her insights and everything today. But before we get into the interview, I want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself.
Hello, America Supermom, Michelle. So nice to be here. I'm still amazed that you have 15 children. So a bit of background on me. I used to be like corporate, so about 10 years in working in U.S., Canada, mainly Canada, a little bit in the U.S., Denmark, and the Netherlands. And I was in strategic brand development, product development, and this was my life. And I was, things were looking good, but underneath it all, I was deeply depressed. And and the last 5 years of my corporate career, I was also straddling spirituality, trying to find ways out. And it was during that time where I had seen lots of doctors, and they all kept saying, "There's nothing wrong with her."
Wow.
There's nothing, and I had all kinds of medical tests, psychologists, like, nothing's wrong with you. But yeah, you seem to be going through some sort of depression. But it wasn't. It was my awakening that couldn't be labeled any other way.
Wow.
So,
I love it.
Yeah, so it was a deep dis-ease, which they just kept calling it depression for a while because they're like, there's nothing wrong with her. Like all kinds of tests, including physical ones. They're like, she's completely healthy, seems very coherent. I mean, at that time, had a great career, so no difficulties getting up and getting things done. So they're like, but there's this thing that I just don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
And I loved my career. It's not like the typical, sometimes you hear the stories of people hate what they're doing. It's like, I loved it. So for me, this is when I realized, having the career trajectory that I had at that time, I was already a global director. So, VP was not that far out of sight. And I was still always ambitious. That's the other part of me. And I had a great guy living back home, back in Toronto. Things were going really well. And I'm like, if all of this doesn't give me what I thought would give me happiness, something's not right. So for me, that was the point where it was a decision to quit my career, but I didn't think I was going to be leading it for 8 years.
Wow.
So I thought I'd take a few months, maybe a year off, and maybe 2 at the most. And, I'm a creative, innovative person. I thought I was pretty good at what I did. So I'm like, I can figure this out, or I'll go get another job. Someone will want to hire me. That's what I thought. And I'm like, it's a bit of a risk to leave a career and have a gap. But I was like, whatever, I can explain this. It's I would respect it if someone said they did that. So I'm sure I can find someone else. I respect that.
Definitely.
And what ended up happening was, all the physical stuff, working out, doing yoga, meditating. I was doing all of that. And again, I was starting to feel better, but it was at that point where I was like, this is what you always do. It gets better and then it deepens. It gets better. So it's almost like, and then I got led to plant medicine in South America. So I got on a plane, moved there for 2 months and worked with amazing healers. And I started to realize the source of who I am.
Wow.
Consciousness. That we are all consciousness. We are love. And our whole, because it was always like, what's the point of life? What's the meaning of life? That was the esoteric question that was like nudging me all the time. If all of this isn't the answer, what's the answer? And the answer is love. But I didn't know how to find that in me at that moment. It was always in me. And all of my external successes, identifications, none of that mattered. I couldn't care less. So I sold everything, came back, sold everything, including leaving my amazing partner. We're still best friends, and decided that this needs to be my full-time devotion for a while. And
Mm.
again, I thought it might take another year or so, and then fast forward another 5 years. That's how we got to 8 years. Um,
Wow.
I went back and forth to the Amazon several times, and then I went to India, worked with and did a panchakarma cleanse, and worked with different healers there. And then I decided to settle in Bali for 4 years because one, it's like there's all kinds of ancient healing modalities there, and the
Mhm.
land is quite primed for this kind of integration work.
Mm.
That became my life. Meditate, yoga classes, occasionally have a fun trip to the beach, and it was amazing. And
That's
in the process, I started like as a hobby a company, and I started helping volunteering at little projects because you still have that
mhm.
place. And so that's the company now that I did. I wasn't ready to scale it, but I'm building it up, and hopefully by towards the end of this year it'll launch.
Mm.
And now I bring this wisdom to others that are in similar situations through soul immersion medicine retreats. Um,
Love that.
and it's in completely legal spaces, like in Costa Rica, where the medicine is fully legal. But it's
Mhm.
10 night, 11-day immersion where
Mm.
it's not just a plant medicine, it's meditation. Like I teach you how to meditate if you don't,
Mhm.
breath work, sound healing, asana practice, like a basic one. So if you're new to yoga, it doesn't matter. Like a hatha practice, and then strategic conversations. One for
Mm.
integration, that's just to really help, and two, like how do we now integrate this to everyday life?
I
And
love it.
the difference is most shamans don't get this training. They don't come from corporate. And also in ancient
Right.
shamanism,
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking
yeah,
for we're gonna stop right here because people are resonating with, okay, I'm in that corporate space, that's me. I'm happy but not fulfilled, but going totally into what you're at now. So if they're at that space, what advice would you give them about taking that leap of faith? Because it sounds like it was such a personal journey,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, how was everybody around you reacting? So you're saying even your partner, you guys are friends now, but what did that look like? Because it's like, wait a minute, is she going off the deep end? I'm saying as an observer. You know
But
what I mean?
so bless him. And we were always friends. We never had a difficult divorce. We didn't have any hardship at all. Even our marriage was amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what made it more challenging because how do you walk away from that? And I was walking away because for me, integrity became the core value that I had to abide by internally.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't know what I'm feeling yet for this man who deeply is committed, devoted to me, and I know that I want more time to do this work, how is it fair to keep him waiting in limbo while I go all over the world and
Mm-hmm.
do this work? And because we didn't have children, mind you, that is an easier decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have made the same decision if there was a child in the picture.
Now,
Um,
and so how long were you guys married?
we were together for 5 years, married for 2.5. So he's
Okay.
been, yeah. So now he's been in my life for 10 years. So okay. So the starting point of that was he just saw that I was also the girl who was behind birthing Lego Friends, and he saw me
Mhm,
working. It was a multi-billion-dollar division now for Lego, so he
mhm,
saw how hard I worked and what I was capable of.
mhm,
And then he saw me at home, the well, what he would say is probably the sweetheart at home, and it's just very girly and loving, and
mhm,
it's very different from my corporate persona.
mhm,
And he saw those, and then he also saw the depressed person at times. He
mm,
said, I want whatever is going on with you to transform because there's so, and he saw my light always.
mm.
And he's to this day, he's my number one ally because he says, I want the world to see this light.
Wow.
That's he's probably a guardian of some sort. Um,
Mhm,
and so his whole thing was if me and you not working out is the price I have to pay for the world to experience your gift.
wow.
And then of course he waited for me for 3 years before he moved on, and then
Right.
when he realized, okay, it's going to take longer, and in the process, he finally met someone that, he felt really good about. And it
Mhm.
was okay. And then the other part for me is, yeah, some people I'm sure thought I went off the deep end, especially when it was taking 8 years. By year 6, they thought she's probably never coming back. And in fairness, I also thought when it would be, because I was honoring the wisdom of the heart.
Right.
So integrity, internal honesty,
Mhm.
and then willing to figure it out financially, how I was going to fund all this in the process. Like I could,
Mhm.
hold a yoga class, or I can teach meditation. Like you don't have to make a lot of money living in Bali. Like the cost of
Right.
living, like you can live humbly for about $500 a month. And
Mm.
still well, it's still well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm like, I don't need a lot of money to, like, just to honor this and stay in integrity. Right. And
I
that
love
became,
that.
yes, that became the foremost principle. And I think the other reason is, I don't think everyone's called to become a shaman. I think it's in my lineage. My great grandfather, I'm
Mm.
indigenous, obviously, like
Mhm.
I'm very North American, and we all have our North American accents in our education now. But like you, we're indigenous people, our
Mhm.
heritage. And
Mhm.
I'm indigenous from the South Asia. And my
Mhm.
great grandfather, who probably came from Northeast Africa, they were plant medicine people, and they were healers.
Mhm. Mhm.
Different medicine, but still it was DMT enhancing. And in that tradition, the people never drank the medicine. It was the shamans that did. And that puts them into a
Mm.
heightened state of awareness, and you can see through your third eye, and I can diagnose what's going on with someone.
Wow.
And I have that gift now. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't use the word diagnose, actually. I get to
You can
see
feel
something.
it.
I
Yeah.
see it. No, I visually see their timeline. Uh,
Oh,
yes, I
wow.
can. But I don't share it because it's called self-realization for a reason.
Wow.
So I get to then guide you in the process over the 10 days or whatever, or if you're mentoring with me over 3 months, um, I get to guide people to connect to that part of them without ever planting the seed of what I see.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, because it's like the lasting change is when you just hold the vessel in the container and make them feel so safe
Mhm.
that that safety is not a concern, because you also don't want a spiritual crisis. So it's always gentle.
Mhm.
Right? And the integration takes the longest, because the one thing is having, being able to witness what's happening within you, and okay, now I have the awareness.
Mhm.
The other part is then how do you embody that into your everyday life to feel comfortable in your body,
Right.
right? And that's there's other tools for that, and they're actually ancient technology. We don't call them ancient technology anymore, but this was ancient technology from some of our great ancestors who knew about this, and lost a bit in the last couple of 100 years. And I guess it's the renaissance of all of this again, as a lot of this becomes more mainstream again.
Yeah. Now, so my question is,
Mhm.
being able to see something and
Mhm.
being quiet about it. That's like the mom who sees that the kid is on the wrong path, got the wrong friends, or, a girlfriend who's dating this guy that just doesn't seem right, or whatever. So the ability to keep your composure and not put your 2 cents in, so to speak. How do you manage that? What are some things that you do that help you with that?
Well, for me, I continue to have my own personal practices. So I'm always clearing the field, the energy. So anything I'm picking
Mhm.
up energetically. So I have my own practices for that.
Mhm.
So breath work, meditation, a physical practice of movement, whether it's dancing or yoga or running, whatever.
Mhm.
Yoga is a great one because it's a full body workout, and it opens up and helps with the alignment. But I
Mhm.
also love dancing and just running. So it really depends on whatever feels like love in the moment. Just
Mhm.
my message to everyone is just keep following the heart. Like no dogma. Like it's not you have to do this. It's good
Mhm.
to have a disciplined practice while you get into that flow state.
Mhm.
But once
Mhm.
that flow state becomes your norm,
Mhm.
the reason we have discipline around that is so that it can become a default pattern. Once that becomes a default pattern,
Mhm.
do you still need the tool? You can use it, but
Right.
and this is how you stay away from dogma. So
I
the
love that.
idea, yeah, the idea is you are the guru. The inner guru is guiding you, and all of these other practices, even plant medicine, it's just different modalities to help you connect to the source within. because you won't need it after a while. I
So true.
Yeah, and
I totally get that because then it's that self-awareness and that longing for it that kind of leads you as to how consistent you are at making time and place and space for that. And eventually, I mean, it's just like any muscle that you work out, eventually it is strong enough on its own. And the repetition and consistency goes into the subconsciousness and kind of like it's just a different. I love how you say it becomes the default
yeah.
rather than just the regular thing that you do every day. It
Mhm.
just begins to be autopilot or something positive rather than whatever we are tossed to and fro, with everything in society or whatever the case may be. So I
Yeah.
love that you put it that way.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to start to feel so good after a few months.
Hmm.
And I think for me, what I'm doing now is with these retreats and some of the mentoring work I do. Again, this is not my main thing. I'm building a company. That's my main thing.
Hmm.
But I'm carving out the time to be available for this because I see that in order to really amplify the transformation I'd love to be part of on the planet, I need more people like me, like
Mm,
that are not like me, but like whatever their heart calling is to align to that.
exactly.
And especially the executives and leaders, or whatever visionary, whatever they're choosing to be a service and love, but there's certain impediments they feel within them. Let's shift those so that you know who you are. And
I love it.
especially the reason I'm focused on corporations and executives and leaders is that's where a lot of the atrocities on the planet are happening, because
Mm,
we are making decisions that impact the planet and community. Because what's a community? Employees, staff,
right.
factory workers. It's impacting community, the working class. And in
Hmm.
order to really help the working class and everyday people, what I realized was, this is my strategic planning side coming in. Well,
Okay.
if that's the goal, if I want to help the everyday people, who's actually making the decisions that's impacting them the most? And that's when I realized I can't get government to change fast, but I can get corporations to transform faster.
That's good.
So then
Hmm.
strategically, I thought, okay, if that's what I want, if my heart's calling me, start working with CEOs and executives and help them realize the impact of carcinogens in food, and the impact of devastating rainforests for the sake of cheaper raw materials, the impact
Hmm.
of certain working conditions and slave
Hmm.
labor, which they're not even aware of a lot of times, these CEOs, because they're not looking at the lines of each raw material and the three hands that switch to make it look legal,
Right. I
right?
love
And so,
that.
yeah, so this is where I got to know a lot of indigenous communities, activists, documentary filmmakers, because I got involved in the Bali. Worked behind the scenes and volunteered a bit with the Bali Indigenous Film Festival,
Mm,
and also I would say part of the early discussions of that creation, because the founder of it is a friend of mine, and so and getting to know all these indigenous communities, and then I started to realize, well, who's the companies that's buying the product? And it was the big ones like Unilever, Pepsi, Coke,
mhm,
and like I was shocked at who the companies were that were,
mhm,
and I bet you their leadership doesn't realize some of the atrocities.
mhm.
'Cause that's
Or,
what
it's like, you're one of a few. I mean, what do you feel like, what am I gonna do?
right.
Because there's not a lot of people like me. Now, so, walk us through because a lot of people, they are resonating with what you're saying, but there's an element of courage because this is like, not a traditional mindset. This is something that's a growth mindset. This is an everyday conversation that people would be talking about, and especially having that confidence that you're going to attract your tribe. So walk someone through who's watching about that confidence, how you're able to maintain that and what you do to attract your tribe every day.
It's quite simple for me. I lead with my heart.
Mm.
And I realized that it's faith, actually. And what faith, another word for it is courage.
Mhm.
faith in the unknown, unseeable, unprovable yet, that there's a power that is guiding me, that I am part of, that
Mhm.
we're all part of.
Mhm.
I don't call it God, but some people call it God. I just say it's the divinity within me that's connected to the
Mhm.
unified field of consciousness. We're all
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
And if it got me this far, and my life has been radically transformed. I
Mhm.
wake up every day. Some days are difficult. I'll be the first one
Right?
to say that doesn't mean every day you know,
Sunshine and rainbows. Yeah,
no,
I feel you.
there's still difficult days because
Right.
when you think of all the work that needs to get done,
Right?
you're still human. You're still gonna have all those spectrum of human emotions.
Mhm.
The difference is you don't get stuck in the stories,
Yeah,
and
I
so the
like that.
confidence comes from that faith, that courage that walks with me,
Mhm.
and always connects me to the right people, the right situation.
Mhm.
I don't have other word. And then of course I'm taking inspired action,
Right.
right? So you get moved. Like initially, the retreat was in Mexico, and then
Mhm.
I realized, well, technically it is sort of a gray zone where there's indigenous medicine and it's legal. A lot of people do it there, but in order for me to get the release signed, which is important, so they all know what they're
Mhm.
signing up for, anyone who does it properly will get you to sign a release,
Mhm.
right? And I thought,
Mhm.
well, the only way a release is valid is if it's in a legal country.
Mm.
So this is how you know you're working with a pro. Like it's
Mhm.
someone who's actually doing the due diligence to keep you safe, taking care of all the details, looking at the fine prints. Because I have a public persona, I'm always going to make sure you're safe and everything's taken care of.
Right?
But then I have to take care of the legal aspect for you, and that's how you know I'm
Mhm.
right. So that I want to make sure at all points there's no jeopardy to someone.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the courage comes from, well, I've been blessed enough that I had amazing parents who sacrificed a lot, moved to this country, and we actually grew up in Southern Africa in Botswana. Who went through,
Wow.
yeah. So my heritage is South Asian, Tamil,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
grew up in Africa and then moved to Canada, and
Okay, it must have been a phone call or
phone call,
something.
yeah, yeah, it's a phone call. But
Gotta
yeah,
love technology, y'all.
yeah.
Okay, so you said you went to Canada. Okay, so that's what we got interrupted on.
Yeah, so I was quite young. I was 12 years old when I moved here,
Mhm.
but it was still like it's because of that. So I never forget that. Wow, like look at what's possible in a lifetime.
Mhm.
So that also is inspiring when I look at what my parents did, and they came from a small town in east coast of Sri Lanka, and then I find out about all this amazing stuff about my lineage,
Mhm.
the blessing of being growing up in South Africa in Botswana, where I went to an amazing, incredible private school. And people think you grew up in Africa. They don't realize they're pretty sophisticated. They had computers and
Mhm.
coding when I was when I was 11 years old,
Wow.
and we had like tennis courts and swimming pools. And I'm like, so it's like, no, Africa is more advanced than you think. It's just you don't get to see
Mhm.
that part for the because
Exactly.
yeah. And
It's
this was
all just
already
propaganda and,
exactly.
yeah.
This was early '80s,
Mhm.
by the way. So
Mhm.
early '80s already. They were, and that's actually why my dad was there. He was heading up the fiber optic installation throughout the country.
Mm.
Yeah. So like I said, this is Botswana. You don't think they had fiber optics before North America did
Wow.
on a large scale.
Yeah.
And so I am always grateful to all these influences. So the heart of gratitude, you asked how else do I attract my tribe. It's that
Yeah.
gratitude, that faith, that confidence, that there's some energy moving through me, and I'm so from the heart. Now anyone who gets to know me knows that i'm I'm just heart centered,
Mhm.
and I'm willing to be wrong.
Mhm. I love that.
I'm willing to say, I made a mistake. If I even, regardless of shamanic training, corporate, whatever,
Mhm.
if I actually do something that doesn't feel like I didn't know, I didn't realize that I actually did something, I'm wrong. I'll be the first one
Mhm.
to admit it, and that helps with the integrity
Mm.
because I know
Yeah.
that that's the only way, like to constantly, like like, see, even the ego, like, it's there for a
Mhm.
reason. It's not to eradicate it, it's to align it,
Right.
right?
I
So,
love that.
and that's why I call it alignment. I don't even speak the language of attracting, because you're not attracting anything, it's alignment.
I
So
love that.
look at what's showing up, and that shows you what you're aligning to. Don't want to, and so because attracting makes it like, oh, how did I attract this? No, like that makes you almost helpless a bit.
Mm.
So it's just
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, say, what am I aligning to? And if I'm aligning to something, I can realign to something else.
I love that. That is good. Now that's a aha right there. That's good.
It's good. Yeah, it's like I
You
call
know,
it personal leadership.
I had that experience earlier. It was either earlier this week or last week about removing the word balance and the word harmony.
Tell me more.
So you think about it, when you have a choir, you have all different voices, but they still have a beautiful song. They can each be themselves. So when it comes to life, there is no good, bad, it just is. And so when you can have harmony.
I love that. Yeah,
I know. I thought that was this
I
awesome.
love that. And I
Yeah.
also call it a blend. Like there's no work-life balance. I think it's always a blend.
Yes.
Especially like,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't imagine with 15 kids and everything you've been doing how
It's a
stressful.
blend, girl.
I'm like, every time I tell someone, I'm like, speaking to America's supermom. I don't know how she does it.
It's a lot of prayer, okay? Look, it's a lot of humility, knowing that I don't know everything for real, okay? So
Yeah.
this is good. And I love the way that people give me grace. See, this makes my job so much more fun because they're like, "Ah, I would be this or I would be crazy or whatever." So I just do a little bit and it really impresses everybody, right?
Well, what it is I think you probably have it really beautifully ironed out over the course of a couple of decades. And for us, I mean, for me, who's hoping to be a mother in the next couple of years, I'm like, how am I going to run a company that I plan to scale and a
Mhm,
massive corporation?
mhm,
And then I'm going to still do executive leadership retreats at least twice a year. And then
mhm.
I'm going to always be available to mentor about 10 people max.
And you're gonna be able to do it, girl. I
Yeah,
mean, because
and then be a mummy, like
yeah, I think
hands-on mummy, not like, I mean, of course you might have a nanny to support,
right.
but
I wish
I would be a hands I would be a
my
hands-on
kids are
mother.
nannies, okay?
What? What
I
was
said
that?
my kids are nannies, okay? The older ones, it's like, "Hey, get over there and help out." But
Yeah, well,
I
you
mean,
have 15.
yeah, I think the issue though is I think that's a good point you bring up because when you are all in with your businesses, I that's one of the things I struggle with. I was unfulfilled because I felt like I couldn't do both. I had to choose. So it was like
Me
this is
too, for a
part of my
while.
life and then I can do this. But that's why, I have the name America's Supermom because it's a blending, a harmony that you create with knowing what your limits are, where you need help, and we're more than just the roles we play.
Absolutely, and I think
Mhm.
it's the seasons of your life, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm realizing now, well, this is all doable. Um,
Mhm.
it's just, you need that, and this is where the strategic side. Okay, you can't do it all yourself. You need a little team for this
Mhm.
that you lead, and you kind of. I'm starting to put together my transformation team already. They're
Yeah.
all flying into Costa Rica with me, so I've got my
Mhm.
little team to support because I realized I can't do this alone. I have
Right.
I have an incredible publisher that I'm working with, so
Mhm.
that's going to be amazing for the books.
Mhm.
And so, and then of course, I feel like again this comes back to faith and courage. How are you going to do this all? Well, my heart says yes to all of this because and then it might be like, how do you like, maybe a really good assistant one day who's going to help me
Oh,
organize.
yeah. Just
Um,
like look, they're gonna align right with you, girl.
Yeah. So, and I try, and this is how I'm attracting the tribe. I'm like, I need an
Mhm.
amazing assistant that I
Mhm.
fully trust, vetted,
Mhm.
and then I probably need a brand manager soon who can help do a lot of the work because. And also, I think about how amazing is it that I get to work with them and they get to work with me,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And that's the realization I had. This is going to be someone's blessing.
Yeah, and I love the way you think because my whole thing is, we need to look more at having our goals with the end in mind
Yes.
and being able to visualize that end. You begin as you fill in the pathway to that end goal,
Mhm.
how much work it is. So I tell people, you're starting off here and you want to get here. There's a journey, right?
Yes.
There's some time in between there. You're not just going to jump,
Mm.
it's a process. And so it's so good to be able to have that visualization so
Yeah.
that you can be patient and that you can pace yourself
Right.
for where you're going. You wouldn't sprint 50 miles
Yeah.
if
Speaking
you knew
about
you
that.
would, you
Yeah.
know.
Speaking about that, like it took me 8 years to integrate and be ready to be holding a sacred medicine circle. 8 years.
Mhm,
There's people who
mhm,
are doing it after a year or two.
mhm,
So that and so it just really be like honoring this, and I'm one of
mhm,
someone completely resonates with what you just said. Like
mhm,
it takes patience to do this with
mhm,
absolute integrity and do it well. And
mhm,
speaking of that, one of the long-term visions is I'm excited to collaborate with professors who are willing to um, test out the ability to use transformation tools like ayahuasca, plant medicine, for
mm.
deeply healing work that is difficult from a psychology point of view. So
That's awesome.
this is, and I've already been contacted by one. So for me, it's like that's on the horizon too. So for me,
Mhm.
it's like I jokingly say I have a spiritual PhD, but maybe it's going to become,
I love it.
yeah,
Hey,
like
you're bringing that into existence, so
so.
that's great.
It's to take it out of the shadow because sometimes those of us who do this work and we're doing it with so much integrity, but then there's still an eyebrow raising,
Mhm,
and we're doing it with such love, and it's all like completely above board and so amazing, but because
mhm,
there's a lack of understanding around it, and then of course the terrible stories of people who don't do it with integrity. And I
mhm,
thought, well, how do I be part of, like, I'm always asking the question, how am I part of the transformation I want to see?
mm.
Like, it's not someone else's responsibility. How am I? Even if I can only, to everyone who's watching, your audience, it's like, maybe you feel like you can't do anything, but I am here to tell you you can. Just,
Right.
just go online and search all the everyday products that you buy and
Mhm,
switch to more eco-friendly, conscious versions of that product.
mhm.
You are the reason corporations are corporations.
Yeah,
You have this immense power that you give away all the time.
so
um,
true.
and I don't blame you. There's extremely sophisticated marketing and pricing and a
Mhm.
lot of things that seduce us to making those decisions. I don't blame anyone.
And convenience,
And
and,
convenience.
just being asleep. A lot of us are asleep
So
about certain issues,
yes,
right?
this is why I say take advantage of the fact it's lockdown and we're ordering online a lot of things,
Mhm,
and take that extra 5 minutes. I literally say, oh, this is what you would put in the search engine. Whatever the name of your product is that you normally buy,
mhm.
an alternative healthy version or alternative eco version.
Love
Simple.
that.
So simple techniques, and then automatically the search engine will give you a bunch of things, and then you can look at. I also, even if you're not vegan, I always recommend switch to vegan-based products. It impacts your
Mhm,
karma, because maybe you don't care about veganism, or you don't even want to switch,
mhm.
um, but but the sheer fact that you can switch to more green vegan product, it reduces animal cruelty, and that's going to feel better when you put it on your skin.
So
And
true.
even if, and then I always say, like, maybe you can try it one day a week or one meal a week.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
But see how you feel. Because see, a lot of times we do things out of routine. Because I've been vegan for 5 years.
Mm.
Not vegan, vegetarian.
Okay.
I still have eggs and cheese, but my thing is, I have so much clarity, and I think also I'm able to radically change quickly.
Yes.
If somebody gives me a new belief system or, like I said, mindset shift, how often are we talking about balance and this, and it's just like, I don't look at that word anymore, it's harmony, and I just can change quickly, and I think that's based on my diet. I really believe that
I
because
wonder if there's a new
just
word
the
for that,
clarity.
like a balanced harmony, or I'm trying to figure out this. Harmony is beautiful, but it's like,
Mhm.
is it? I feel like this maybe another word we need for that to replace it, because I strive for harmony, but you're right, it's an art.
Yeah,
It's
because see, there is the different entities of it in order for it to be beautiful,
right,
or
right.
so it is how do I want to say it?
I just got
You
it.
have to balance in order to have harmony. So
Right.
it's something to you take an action to
It's
do it.
actually
Harmony doesn't exist without work.
I just tuned in as you were speaking, and
Hmm.
what I saw was we have understood harmony and balance from a very North American centric corporate mindset.
Hmm.
But what if you step back and you see harmony and balance as a more cosmic, where there's everything is going on, but there's amazing harmony that is overseeing this divine play, this amazing dance of the planets and the sun and the solar system and all of us as beings here. It doesn't look like harmony, but there's harmony.
Look at it. Yeah. I mean, you got a storm here and good weather here, day here, night somewhere else. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a powerful illustration. So I'm even more imprinted with the word harmony now. I love it. So we are out of time.
Yes.
Okay. I could go on for hours, but what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
For now, please reach out to my Instagram. It's going to be
Hmm.
my pursuit of peace. The handle is going to change just because I'm doing a new stage last name.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to change in the next couple of days. But for
Okay.
now, I think if you just look up my pursuit of peace, it'll always come to it. That's also
Okay.
the name of the current website. But in the next 2 weeks, the new website is launching. It's called just my name, Casilda.love.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
And what final words do you want to share with everybody?
Mm. We are pure consciousness awakening to the realization of this truth. The gurus is already inside you, and be the transformation you want to see.
Love that. Well, we want to thank you so much, Caselda, for being with us today. For those of you that are watching, if something that she said resonated with you, please feel free to reach out to her on her Instagram or her website. And you also can make comments in the below, and we'll be sure to get those answers to you. And in the meantime, we encourage you to be the transformation you want to be. So, thank you again, Casilda, for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you all on the next episode.
Yeah,
Bye
thank you
for
for
now.
having me. Bye.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye, everybody.